Hey guys, turkey season is in full swing right now, and if you are planning on getting after it, make sure to pick up some Meat Eater Phelps turkey calls to stuff into the old turkey vest or into your fanny pack right now. I carry a few different things. I like to use mouth calls, and I like to use pot calls. Mouth calls or diaphragms, I like them because it gives you hand-free calling, meaning when you're working a bird up close, you can have your gun on your knee, finger on the trigger, ready to roll, and still be making turkey sounds. I like pot calls because I just like pot calls. I enjoy calling with a pot call. Whatever direction you go, including a box call, which I don't personally use too much, but they're fun and great, and I started out with them. Yanni, on the other hand, one of my main turkey hunting buddies, he loves box calls. And what's funny is I'll now and then look to him and give him the look that means get out your box call and find us a turkey. So it's not that I don't like him. I just have Yanni use his. Then I don't have to carry it. Go to Phelps Game Calls. Get calls that are made in the USA and get calls that'll get them close. Find yours at phelpsgamecalls.com today.
Hey, this is KC Smith, and you're listening to the Element Podcast. What's up, y'all? I am not Tyler Jones. In fact, this is your co-host, KC Smith, who is taking the lead role tonight. But do not worry, we have got Tyler on the phone. What's up, man?
What's happening, dude?
Oh, I'm just sitting here licking my wounds from the huge storm that blew in today.
Did it come through?
Yeah, it was.
I went through part of it, yeah, and it was pretty rough.
Yeah, it was pretty crazy. I was outside running, and then all of a sudden I got pelted in the face with sand and couldn't see, so I had to stop running and come inside. And I actually posted like a photo of some of the corn in my garden on the story today, on the Instagram story for the Element.
Yeah.
Kind of like a humble brag, like I've already got silk coming out of my corn, which is cool. And then this storm blows in and all my corn is laying over on the ground.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Oh,
kind of stinks, but oh well.
Terrible.
So why were you driving through the storm?
Well, left out earlier today, and, you know, we've had a tough time getting the schedules together this week. This is definitely, you know, our season of work, and November is going to be our season of play, probably. So
That's the hope, at least, for sure.
Yeah, and so we have had a hard time this week, but I am basically sitting in a suburb of Tulsa, Oklahoma right now, and I've got a couple days here lined up where we're going to be recording the first steps of my album, essentially, my next album. So drums and bass, essentially, and we kind of talked a little bit about it earlier, but, you know, those are the first things that typically go on a record when you're doing a conventional band record. And so, yeah, I was driving through it, and about Paris, Texas, I came in on the loop there in Paris, and, dude, I'm just sitting there kind of like chugging along. It's raining pretty hard, can't see that great, you know, but I'm going probably like 50 miles an hour, and I get to the loop, and I start to get on the overpass, and there's like, all of a sudden my truck just gets sucked to the side of the road. I'm like, man, holy cow. There was a bunch of big puddles, you know, up against the overpass wall there, and they were out into the road pretty far, and they had kind of like, you know, my right tires hit it, and I was just like sucked into it. So it was a little bit hairy there for a second, but once I figured that out, it was like floodwaters all throughout the city there, and you know, but I was going a lot slower, and once I got north of Paris a little ways, it cleared up, and man, it's a really pretty day here.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yep.
Well, shoot, man, those new tires, I figured you'd just be splashing through stuff and just rolling.
Yeah, they're not all terrains or anything, but they do shed water better than the other ones I had.
I bet they do, man. You and I have both rolled on some sketchy tires, long distances. Dude, I went to Colorado, I guess it was 2015, on like almost Maypops. I mean, going to 22 hours away in the mountains, and had two flats while I was there. So that was cool.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's the story of my touring life was flats. I could change a tire faster than anybody that's not on a NASCAR crew. I guarantee you.
Oh man, well you're a good guy to run around with on the back roads of the plains. Then that would be all right. I need to make sure that you go to Colorado with me every year, even though you're dropping out on me this year. That's fine though.
Yeah,
it's okay.
dude. I didn't know. You said you didn't know. You didn't tell me for sure that you were going until now, and so
Yeah.
I just like, you know what? I just probably should stay around here. I was gone a lot last year.
Yeah,
So.
yeah. I don't blame you. And Casey doesn't kill things when he goes. He just shows other people how to.
That's exactly right. You're gonna have good luck this year because I'm not there.
Maybe so, man. That might be right. I hope you're right. But
I hope so too.
Are you gonna find any time while you're up there in apparently the new spotlight state for whitetails? Everybody seems to have gone to Oklahoma this year. Are you gonna do any scouting or fishing or anything while you're up there?
I am not gonna have the chance to, man. And I mean, you know me, I'm the first one to kind of do that. You know, like I want to do that if I have a chance. But man, it's pretty intensive when you step into the studio. I mean, with this producer, I think we're going to get about a 10 a.m. start in the morning, and I would imagine we go till at least 10 p.m. But I mean, the last producer I had, man, we'd start no earlier than noon, and we'd go till midnight or 2 o'clock. One night we went till 4 a.m. recording. So I mean, it's just it's kind of a weird deal. It's actually really awesome. Like if you could relate, and I probably will relate a lot of different things in our conversation today, I imagine, to music, and because I've had a lot of experience there. But if you could relate it to hunting, it would be like you go on a 3-day trip or whatever it might be, a trip, and you're out of cell service, and you have to, there's no tree stand sitting. There's constant action, but maybe not the ability to get on what you're trying to get on. I mean, so in other words, we go in, we start basically setting stuff up, talking to the producer, you're putting a production plan together, and immediately you go into recording, and like 3 hours later, you look up and you're like, I'm pretty hungry, and you like get a snack, and then it's back to the grindstone, and the next thing you know, you're like, dude, it's 2 p.m. I have not been outside. I've been in this dark cave for like, 4 or 5 hours here. I need to go outside. You go outside and you're like a vampire. The light hits you and you just like sneak back inside, and it's crazy how like focused you get to be. And like I said, it's weird, but it's awesome too. It'd be like just being able to be focused on that deer hunt nonstop. You're spotting stock all day, working hard for it. And next thing you look up and you're like, man, it's cool. You get lost in it, man, and you kind of lose your responsibilities, which is kind of a good thing for us and a bad thing for our significant others.
Yeah, the significant others. Even non-musicians have a hard time pleasing them sometimes, so I understand that. So you'd say that, like, right now you're in the musician's version of, like, a out-of-state rut vacation with no cell phone service on public land. Is that kind of like what you're at?
That's it.
Man, that sounds like a blast.
It is, dude. I'm telling you, it's fun. I mean, I spend a lot of money on it right now, and I eventually
it's also like a rut vacation.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's I'll make it back eventually, and I've already got a lot of money saved up for it, but it's an expensive process, and that's a bit stressful, but I've got to kind of treat it more like my hunting, where I just say, you know what, this is part of me, this is something I do, and I'm just going to not be irresponsible about it totally, but also understand that like you only got one life, and today's really the only day you're kind of guaranteed. You may not get all that even. So
yeah, that's right.
I'm trying to just make sure I kind of do things that I want while trying to be pretty responsible, and also there's, to me, kind of a legacy factor, I guess you'd say, or something that my kids or grandkids might look back on in 30, 40 years and be like, man, this is cool. Like, can't believe my granddad or my dad was like pretty good at music, or whatever,
Yeah.
So I think kind of like filming our hunts, I can't believe they used to do it like that, you know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
So,
that's cool, man. I never really thought about it that way. I know you and I have talked a lot about the hunting stuff, but you're right, man. It'd be cool for your, your kiddos to be able
sure.
to pop in do y'all still make CDs? I guess you still make CDs, right?
Actually, we will do a full digital platform this time around. No CDs.
Man.
I've probably got 1,000 CDs from the last one.
Yeah.
And that was 2013. So, they just don't sell anymore.
Yeah, it's a new age, man, and that's kind of what we're fixing to start talking about on this podcast. Actually,
that's right.
We're going to kind of talk about some of the new age stuff and what it's like hunting in today's world of information, and if it's really good for us. It's kind of a weird thing. It's kind of a catch-22 where there's so many things that can be helpful in today's hunting sphere, but there's so many things that can be hurtful too. So, but first, if you've been listening, you know that that Tyler and I have been really trying to hone in some of our archery setup stuff and make some adjustments and just try to increase our lethality for the next season. So, dude, I haven't got the full report on your new arrows. So if you wouldn't mind filling me in on that on the podcast,
Sure.
that'd be great.
Yeah, dude, it's I don't know, we kind of discussed, a friend of mine was listening to the podcast and he was like, hey, I pretty much have the arrows that you're wanting to shoot. And he was like, and I happen to not be using them next year because I'm going to something different. So if you want, I'll send you these arrows. And they're full metal jacket Eastons, they're, our draw length, I think, is the same, but our arrows are actually cut to his are longer.
Mm-hmm.
But they're the 340 spine, 11.2 grains per inch or something like that. And they're the 5 millimeters. But anyway, they finally came in. I got a half dozen of them from my bud. And I started shooting them the other day. And the first thing I noticed when I put that thing on the string and shot it at 18 yards was that it was crawling. I felt like I just was a little worried about it, man. I don't know. I mean, I think that what I would like to do is cut them down maybe to the same length or close to the same length as my other arrows that I've been shooting, and I'll lose a little bit of weight. It won't make a dramatic difference in penetration, but it'll hopefully bring the speed up a little bit and kind of balance things out a little more to what I was shooting. But I mean, I get a tremendously more penetration. I mean, I've got a new target and it's a cheap target, and I've had a few almost the fletching is halfway through the target. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I'm getting good penetration with them, and I feel like I still will even when I cut them. But I just am a little bit worried that a deer is not just going to jump the string, because I mean, I hope to, try to adjust for that. And I've always tried to think about it and talk about it for several years now, work myself into these different scenarios. But I kind of wonder, how slow is it where it gets to the point where it's oh, that deer is now turning,
Yeah.
It's changing your left and right point of aim as well. And I don't want that to happen. I've filmed a couple of hunts for you and filmed some of mine. And really, so far, the deer have just ducked straight by the time the arrow gets there. There hasn't really been any turning too much. The only one that was even close would be Scar. And I still think it would have hit, left and right, it would have hit within an inch or two probably of where you're actually
I think
aiming
only
it,
his head and neck area had partially turned by the time the arrow got there. So it really was still just an up and down situation.
You're still just loading up. Yeah.
And I mean, one of the things though that is going to help you is that with that added arrow weight that you've gained. Side note: do you know how much or what the difference is in your arrow weights of those two that you your old ones and your new ones?
I read one of my arrows this morning. I think that was like a 8.3. Yeah,
I
think so. Yeah,
I can't do that math right fast in my head, but I imagine you've gained quite a bit,
Yeah.
in weight, which will help you in the penetration stuff. You're going to probably have a little pin adjustment, I'd imagine, but
Yeah.
it's going to quiet your bow down a ton,
Yeah,
having
I've
a
noticed
heavier
that.
arrow. So maybe what you lose on speed, you'll gain in sound, and you won't have quite as, a loud bow that causes deer to jump. I don't know. It's just going to have to be something that you mess with and play with, I suppose. But
Right. What's crazy is that I've been editing the film from last year, the buck that I shot last year, and I don't know, the wind was blowing like stiff.
yeah,
You remember for sure.
I was
But
freezing.
these people will see, and these people will see that I basically like drew the bow 3 times, and this deer was at like 25 yards and never saw me.
I was freaking out.
I knew that he wasn't going to see me because the wind was really stiff. All the limbs were blowing like crazy, and we had the wind, and I was using a cedar tree, most of the time when I was drawing on him anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm thinking, the wind was blowing at least 15 miles an hour at the very minimal. And I mean, it was enough that and he wasn't going to hear me for sure, and this deer came in completely oblivious that anything else in the woods could hurt him. I mean, he was literally just like the biggest thing in the woods, cruising like crazy, just a stud. I mean, just like what a dude that's like a professional athlete walks into the room like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And when we ran that shot in 120 frames per second so we can slow it down like big time, and I did, and I was looking at it, and that deer moves a minimum, he ducks of 2 inches, if not 3 or 4. I mean, it's unbelievable. There's no way at 23 yards, completely oblivious that anything in the world can hurt him, stiff wind that is blowing from him to us. I'm like, how? He jumps. I don't get it.
I don't know
so
either.
I'm a little bit worried about it, but I don't know. A few feet per second may not really make the difference, especially if my bow is even quieter. I don't know.
Sure. I think that's the
hopefully
thing,
it all
man.
balances out.
I mean, you're going to have to shoot the thing and get confidence with it, and that's going to make the difference, But you put that in, I guess, a juxtaposition to the film of you shooting that doe in October. That's Texas deer that are supposedly more jumpy, smaller body size, and I don't know if she moved at all at the same distance.
She did, just a little bit.
But yeah,
just a little bit.
Minimal.
But it was super quiet. There was no wind that morning, remember?
Yeah, I know. And I don't know, I don't understand that because both of the deer were like probably on a 0 to 10 scale, a 0.5 of awareness of our presence, like
Right.
they just were both chilling. So I guess it's just going to depend on the deer. I don't know what it is.
I don't know either. That's one of the hardest things. And, we addressed this topic in a podcast that's going to release here in the next couple months. But
yeah, that's going to be
this is an intense topic that is one of those that there are suggestions that can be made, but there's really no black and white,
Sure, yeah.
So it's a tough thing, and it's one of those things that's almost got to come instinctual, and probably at some point, if you bow hunt long enough, will be messed up,
Yeah, for sure. Do you know that if on those arrows, it has like that standard hit insert, or if it has the brass inserts? Have you looked?
I don't know. I mean, they're not brass colored.
Okay, so they're the standard. Okay.
Yeah.
That's what I was wondering if they had. So I didn't know if you dove off into like the FOC stuff or anything, or worried too much about that.
Well, I think he said that he did something to increase the FOC.
Oh, so there's something glued in there maybe or something?
I think so. And I'm have to fact check myself on that, but I'm pretty sure he did say that.
Yeah.
So,
well,
anyway,
you go to cutting
on
them. You go to cutting on them, you'll figure out what's in there for sure. So
yeah.
So I've been doing a little shooting myself.
Yeah.
Shooting of new bows, actually. I have not purchased a new bow yet, but I did make it down.
Are you shooting arrows or bows?
Well, both, I suppose. So I guess I've told you parts of this story, but I went down.
I think you were telling Brennan the other night, and I overheard.
Oh, yeah, okay. Well, I'll reiterate for you and for anybody listening, because it's worth telling twice or maybe 100 times. But
Sure.
I went down to one of our local bow shops that's a Matthews dealer because I really wanted to shoot the Triax. I've shot a friend's. The draw length was too short for me, but I really liked the way it felt. So I wanted to go shoot the one that's perfect for me and kind of test out the differences in, 85% let off and 75% let off and this and that, just different things, see what my true draw length is, that sort of thing. And I ended up shooting the Triax at 85, 75. I shot the Halon 32, 6-inch brace height while I was there. I even shot a Bowtech while I was there. He just to kind of, I guess, compare me to something, or he might have just been trying to do the sales thing. I know how this thing works. But anyways, I committed, don't ever do this, guys. I committed the cardinal sin of going to shoot a bow, and I didn't bring my release with me, which is stupid. I even told myself before I left that I needed to grab my release. But per the norm, I was like in a super big hurry when I was leaving the house because I had to make it down for a friend's wedding before or after this. So I was kind of in a time crunch. I only had like 45 minutes at the bow shop. And I left and didn't make a list like Tyler probably would have suggested me to do, but it's fine. Well, I show up at the bow shop, and they're always real helpful. And I was like, hey, man, straight up, I forgot my release, and I feel stupid. But do you have anything like it? And I told him I shoot a Scott Samurai, and I really like it. He's like, yeah, we've got some Scotts over here. He went and grabbed me one. It was pretty similar to mine, looked a little different. Trigger was a little bit different, and but it still was like they have like a strap system that goes from your wrist to the actual functioning piece, with the trigger and the jaws and stuff. So it's real limber. I really like that. So I've sized it up, fit it right, and he, grabs a 28-inch bow off the rack because apparently everybody's a 28-inch draw length, and you shouldn't ever vary from that. I don't know why they never measure you, it doesn't matter where you go. They're just like, oh, yeah, you're probably 28. You look like 28. So it's fine. But it shot pretty good, and I liked it. Anyways, I shoot it about 3 or 4 times. I'm kind of getting into it. I'm talking to him about stuff, and I've actually talking to him about draw length, and he's telling me how when you put the 75% mod on it, it actually adds a ½ inch. So we're about to do that, and I go to draw the bow back, and I'm like a stickler about this. I make sure that my finger is behind the trigger as I go to pull on the release, okay? And I'm like very confident in my shooting form. I think I have pretty good form. I've videoed it and made sure, I'm sure I'm not perfect, but for a hunter, I feel like I do pretty good. And one of my big things is like I don't grip the bow like hard. You shouldn't do that. I try to rest it right there, kind of in my palm, along where I kind of try to bisect my palm at the middle of my wrist and go up to about where the ball of my index finger starts. So kind of that soft part right through there. Well, I go to draw, and I get to about a quarter draw, and everything just goes and I see this $1,100 bow go flinging across the room, hits the floor with a big thud, and the arrow goes the other direction. I had to look at the dude, and I was like, I don't know what just happened. And his eyes are really big, and he's, of course they're nice about it, but he's concerned about the bow because it's expensive. And he goes and looks at it, and nothing really wrong with it. Like, it had a couple, little scuffs of paint off the floor on the cam, and that was about it. Well, we get to looking, and this release, it's a single caliper Scott release, and it doesn't just close, you actually have to lock it closed. Who knows to do that? So all I've been doing, like the past 10 shots probably, is I just, pull the trigger back, let it spring close on the D-loop, and we're shooting, man. So this could have happened at any point in time when I was shooting. It could have happened at full draw, and I fling an arrow through the ceiling or something. I didn't really point at the ceiling, but you know what I mean? Like, it could have happened at any point in time because I didn't know, and I guess he didn't know or didn't remember to tell me that release was that way, but you actually have to push the trigger forward to lock it onto the D-loop. So
I don't get what the point of that is.
I don't either, man. I guess it's just one of those things to complicate your world a little bit more, New technology, man. Sometimes it can be a thorn in your side, and it was for me that day for sure. Okay, so a little disclaimer here. Bow shops, for me, can be intimidating. Just because, and I'm not the kind of person who gets intimidated by stuff, but man, you just go in there and everybody knows so much, and it's something that you want to know so much about, but you just can't. You don't. You can't do what they do because they do it for a living, you know. And sometimes, I'm not saying that everybody at the one shop I was this way, but I've been to shops that are this way where their personalities don't do anything to help you with that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no kidding. I know it.
Sometimes people want you to know that they're a pro for sure.
Yeah,
but
it's the Lubbock stare. That's what I call it.
The Lubbock stare.
Yeah, it's a musician thing, but it's just kind of that country boy stare that lets you know that they don't think you're that cool.
I didn't get that too bad this week. Actually, the guy who helped me was really nice about stuff. And
I think he was the same guy that helped me about a week or two ago, and he is pretty nice, man.
Yeah, we were cool. It was just kind of. We didn't really laugh about that at the moment, but looking back, it was real funny. I was concerned and had a little bit of anxiety, but I calmed down. It actually was really good, you know, because it was a lot more like a real shooting scenario. Because after that, I'm all jittery and like there's a big buck coming in. But I do think I like the Triax. I did like the Halon 32 as well, but I like the way, man, that Triax is just dead in the hand. It's cool, and I like the 75% let off more because it makes you more honest, which could come back to bite you in the butt later because sometimes you don't need honesty whenever you're drawn back on a 150-inch whitetail, you know, like you need a little bit of forgiveness. But at the end of the day, I think it's going to make me a more accurate shooter. So I haven't fully decided yet, but I think that's what I'm going to go with.
Cool, man.
Yeah.
It's exciting. It's exciting.
We'll see, man. I'm excited to just... Man, I'm just ready to hunt. And I tell you what, Tyler.
Oh, gosh. Me too.
So, I have in my hand something that I don't know if you have, which is interesting in its own way. But I have in my hand one Department of Wildlife tag for a Midwestern whitetail.
I've got one, too.
Do you really?
I do.
You didn't ever tell me.
It came yesterday.
Yep. So you and I are both going to the great state of Kansas to go deer hunting this year, huh?
That's right.
Man,
that's right, man.
That's sweet. We're both lucky fellas.
Yeah, I'm going to have to flip a coin and see who shoots first.
Man. I think I'm both going to bring our bows to the stand because I know I'd have shot that deer this past year before you did. So I'd have shot him at 32 as opposed to waiting at 23. Yeah. But, man, I'm so pumped because this is really my first out-of-state whitetail trip in general. And, well, I don't really have the trip planned yet. We just kind of know when we're going. But it's a whole new level of excitement and anticipation that I've never really known before. I guess I could kind of make it similar to what I do for Colorado with elk hunting, you know, but it's different, man, when you draw a tag. That's a different feeling, you know? Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
It's
I mean, it's one of those things, man, where just that's a good piece of mail that you get, man.
I was so relieved. I looked in there and I saw, like, you know, they send it with, like, that see-through envelope, so there's, like, a green thing in there, and I was like, hold up. I know I've seen a green thing on a deer's antler or leg before. So, like, yeah. And then I went inside and opened it and just almost shed a tear. It was pretty cool. But, so, you and I both have kind of known that we thought we drew, but they send you a confirmation email, right? And it's really
weird.
Confusing. It doesn't ever actually tell you that you drew. It just tells you, like, what your bonus unit is. Then you get to hunt the bonus unit. I don't know why they wouldn't, like, maybe it's not as big of a deal as I make it, but, like, I want to, like, open an email and, like, see little, like, fireworks and stuff.
Winner.
Yeah, exactly. Like, it's a big thing. Like, make sure I know what's going down right now. But so that was weird, you know, and the whole fact that you get, like, emails about tags and it's all these correspondence. And I actually ended up calling the customer service department trying to figure out, I guess, I was trying to figure out something with my bonus unit. I don't really remember what I was asking, but man, the people I talked to had a hard time understanding that I was coming there to hunt whitetail. Like, they didn't really even She was trying to find like the number for a non-resident whitetail tag and couldn't get it, and I don't know. She's trying her hardest, but just kind of didn't really know a ton. And then like going back to like the application process, I had a lot of anxiety about it anyways, just because it was a new thing for me. And you're like, dude, just shut up and do it. But like, I almost would rather have a white sheet of paper with some check boxes on it at my house that I can check off and send in the mail, just to have like the peace of mind and knowing that like I did it to my best ability and did it right, and there's not like some issue with the sending of it, or like the internet service went bad or whatever, you know. So
most of them are going away from that system.
I know it, man. Yeah, even Colorado this year, they went to all digital on all their applications, and I'm slowly getting the like they charge me like $3 a day for the past 4 or 5 days. And again, are you getting the same emails, the receipts or whatever?
Well, the first email I got from Colorado Parks was like, "Hey, we were unable to charge your credit card for two different. Well, I guess one was elk for points. Did points only. Yeah, and they're like, we're unable to charge your credit card. And I'm like, dadgummit, another thing I put on my to-do list to do in a couple days. You know, update my information. Well, the next day it comes in, and got another email comes in from them, and it's like, the email that you received in regards to your unsuccessful card charging or whatever was sent in error.
So they did charge you?
Okay, now I got like 14 different emails from Colorado Parks and Wildlife, all these different points or whatever that they've given me, and then, different charges that didn't work or go through. And I'm like, man, this is confusing. Yeah. I just want to know for sure that I'm getting points for these species, like that's all. Can you not just send an email that says you got a point this year?
Hey, I don't know if you read further down, but I applied for all points on everything. I didn't apply for anything in Colorado. So, but their email still reads, you were unsuccessful in drawing a tag this year, but however, you were awarded a preference point. Like, thanks so much. They're really great. But
dude, it's man, I don't know. It's just they I don't know if they don't think of an easier way to do it, or if they just think that the way that they're doing it is the easiest way. But it's not good. I don't think most of the time. Some of these.
No, it gets kind of crazy. But you know what? When you get that tag in your hand, man, it's all worth it. And for me right now, it's like the preseason, but it's like the dreaming season. Because as soon as I open that, like that envelope, it's just like a mental movie or film that I just keep playing out all these different scenarios. And when I look at maps and do map scouting, it just has a whole different feeling and meaning, because I know that it's leading me somewhere, Right. And that's a cool feeling, man. I just am so stoked about this fall. It's going to be cool.
Me too, man. I'm ready to be in a cold stand somewhere.
Oh, I hear you. My goodness. I was 32 feet up today, but instead of being in a deer stand, I was on the ridge of the second story of the house that I'm building right now, and it was 95 degrees. So it was hot, and
humid.
I was in an even more precarious position than I am whenever we go getting tree stands that I hung. So you can only imagine, right?
Yeah. Thankfully, you're just getting used to these precarious 30-foot situations.
That's right, man. I'm just a old tree monkey. I can get going up in there, no problem.
Yeah.
All right, so. What we wanted to talk about today is kind of hunting in this new age that we're in. We're in the age of information. That's what we're told. It's the world we live in with internet and all these social media sources, Instagram, Facebook, and then you got YouTube, which I'm not sure is social media or not. Nobody really talks about it. But anyways, there's all these different places to absorb so much, to learn so much, that are supposedly supposed to make your life easier, right? But somehow, some way, this new connected world we live in comes with its own set of complications as well. And maybe it's just the pessimist in me. I don't know, but that's what I see often whenever I think of this new age of hunting that we're in. You know. So Tyler, let me hit you with this, man. Is the internet good for hunting? We're going broad.
Man, that's a big question. If I was going to put it on a scale and weigh, and there's some great things about it, and there's some terrible things about it. I would have to say that the internet is not good for hunting.
Ooh, you're going out just. That's not on a scale, actually. That's just a yes or no you gave me. So cool.
Right. I mean, I'm just saying if I had to put it on a scale and it was going to tip one way or the other, it would tip that it's bad.
I got you. So you're like Lady Justice right now. So
right, exactly.
Got you. Okay, cool.
Prefer to be a man justice.
Well, that's true, but that's not really how the statute works. But that's fine. We'll make you the man justice. It'll be
okay.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. So, I would probably tend to agree with you as much as like it helps me and it helps me as a hunter for hunting. I feel like the internet has put hunting more in a negative light than it ever has been. There's a ton of ways. We live also in the age of fake news. If you don't know a fake news joke, then I don't know, you're under a rock. Like it's a thing we like to joke about nowadays. But there's all these things about like how hunters are doing this and that, and they're slaughtering animals and this and that, or whatever, and it just doesn't make any sense. And to be honest, like since the age of the internet, so let's say, I know the internet was like started way back, but I really remember like search engines and AOL and stuff being a big deal like in the early 90s, right? So can we say like since the early 90s, hunter numbers and hunter percentages have been on the decline ever since, right? So if you want to look at it on that scale, the internet hasn't done anything to lighten that bell curve. So it almost in essence has to be bad for hunting.
Yeah, it's a correlation, it seems like. And
yeah.
I don't know, man. It's a hard thing. To me, the internet and social media, mainly social media. Okay, so social media is a negative place overall. You can go to any video, any video with a lot of views, and there's likely to be like equal parts of negativity or hate, if not more.
We had a video the other day that didn't even have very many views and it had some hate on it. So it doesn't take a lot. People will find it.
And people. Here's the thing, man. When I was younger, I can't say that I just like spread hate, maybe I did, but like there was, when you're on a forum or when you're on YouTube as, a no profile picture, code name, you don't like, you can do anything. You can do anything. And, I think it's just easy. Like I can remember myself, in high school, I was a huge duck hunter in high school. And, I can remember getting on the Ducks Unlimited, forums and trying to, figure out where they're at, where the birds are at, what state are they, in or whatever. And where are they flocked up at? And when are they going to be in Texas? And like, as like a 17-year-old, you're reading things that like these guys that are 40-year-old or more or older in their experience are saying, and you think about it and you're like, oh yeah, that makes sense or whatever. Well, some of it didn't always make sense, and some of it did, but like it was just being kind of grouchy, And so you think about stuff like, I think one time I popped off to some guy about, him being from wherever he was from, Missouri or whatever, like, y'all just, all the birds are just gun shy by the time you get down to us, or whatever kind of thing. And just, golly, it's just part of it is growing up and realizing, and learning things and being smarter and more gracious and all these different things that you try to learn and these disciplines you try to learn throughout your life. So you just don't know them at 17 or 22, but you hopefully start to grow out of them. And so I think that's like one thing about the internet that's really tough on hunting, or just society overall, really, is this negativity, the ability to charge people up without having the consequences that you would in a face-to-face conversation.
Yeah. Yeah.
I can tell you, even it doesn't matter if it's just a text message that's directly to a person. I have had people be more mean to me in a text message or on social media than they would ever in 100 years be to my face.
Oh yeah, sure.
It's just a different thing. Like, people are much nicer when you're face to face.
Yeah. What's the word? Anonymity. It's very hard to say, but like being anonymous on the internet, and I know like it's a pretty common thing, unless you don't spend a lot of time on the internet, like about like internet trolls and people who are keyboard warriors, right?
Mm-hmm.
and it's really no good for anybody, to tell you the truth. And I can only imagine that those people who are doing that, I'm not going to say they live small, little, insignificant, terrible lives, but that like there's nobody who spreads hate on the internet or charges folks up on the forums that like truly feels better and is a better person because they did it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's not helping anybody.
No, that's right, man. And I'll tell you, dude, out of all the challenges I can think that we face as modern hunters, just about every one of them can have some kind of internet correlation, comparison, or root, of some kind from the internet.
Yeah.
And, I just think, starting with just hate and negativity,
Mm-hmm.
that's one thing. And not to mention, like, you've got, another challenge that we face with, I guess the internet makes it this way because the internet has forced all types of media to be very immediate.
Mm-hmm.
Which therefore creates fake news sometimes because it's reported too fast.
Yeah,
that's right. But like all these school shootings, man, just that's part of the hate and the negativity, and the it's talked about so much that everybody gets to thinking about it, even the evil people, and so then they go and do it at their school or whatever. And they're honestly, like, school shootings, I think, are threatening the heritage of responsible hunters. I mean, like, I just don't see how it's hard for me to see. I don't know the numbers at all offhand, but it's hard for me to see that the majority of Americans right now are in support of the gun rights we have right now.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And then probably the majority of them, I know the majority of them don't even know what the gun rights we have are, So, I mean, that's a threat to the hunting heritage. I mean, I know there's a bunch of people out there listening right now that are going, if I didn't have a gun, I wouldn't be hunting. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, sure.
I mean, we bow hunt a lot, but there's a lot of people out there that do it with a gun, and that's the only way they really want to have it. And I don't blame them because I freeze my tail off in a tree stand a lot.
Yeah, box blind would be nice sometimes, but yeah,
no kidding.
You're exactly right, man. It's there are some social constructs and social barriers that we're going to have to cross, and we're going to have to figure out how to navigate very, very soon, a lot sooner than we really wanted to have to deal with, And I know there are some lights, some little embers that light up here and there of like really cool things that socially happen, like the locavore movement has been a great, great thing for hunting. You know, like there are literally people in Austin, Texas, which is Hippieville. Sorry if you live there. Like the town, there's good food there, but like it's a blue town, right? Like it is mostly leaning towards the left, but there are people there who are seeking out new ways to go and get their own food, and that's great, right? Like there are they're cool little things.
Well, access too. You think about all the online mapping that we have now, technology that we have from that help you to understand where the public parcels are, or who owns that piece of property that you always see those deer in the back, that
Yeah.
field on, and I'll go ask him, or whatever. And so access is a good light. I mean, there are things, and I think, honestly, entertainment in some aspects is a great thing that the internet provides for hunters.
Yeah.
We've talked about this. I mean, hunting TV and outdoor television had like its golden years all the way up till, probably, I don't know, maybe about year 2000 or something like that, and the 90s were great for radio and TV and that kind of thing. And once digital platforms like YouTube started coming to and allowing people to put their hunts on, I mean, I can think of several different, I guess, brands right now that do YouTube that never did outdoor TV and that created a brand that people are paying attention to because they like the way they do it versus the way so-and-so TV crew did it,
Yeah.
And so, like, the ability, I mean, and personally, I'm one of those people. I watched a lot of hunt TV and DVDs and Monster Bucks and everything else growing up. But, man, right now, I'm searching out guys who are doing it the way I want to see it on YouTube. And there's guys doing it every different way on YouTube, so you can find it.
Yeah,
that's
sure.
a great thing.
And it's kind of crazy how the outdoor media world has almost done the Roman Empire thing where it like crumbles from within. Like it got so big. Like, it used to just be like sometimes on Saturday mornings you could catch some hunting stuff, and then with the advancements of satellite TV, like all of a sudden you got the outdoor channel. You remember the old logo with the moose on it? It was cool.
Yeah.
And it was like in 480p, and everybody thought it was legit, and then all of a sudden, there's a couple other hunting channels that pop up, and you've got like 4 or 5, and everybody can pay their way onto being on a hunting show, and all the while simultaneously you have this huge rush for antler size that really, in the past was there, but people respected the hunt.
Well, not just that, but kills, number of kills too.
Sure.
I mean, we talked about this. Some of those guys have to kill like 20 deer a year.
Oh, yeah, man.
And it's like, what do you do with the horns? What do you do with the memories?
Yeah. And
I don't know. It's just rough.
This is a weird comparison, and if it's a little bit too PG-13, then just be ready for it. But I believe in my heart that I'm meant for my wife, and she is meant for me, right? And there are people who live certain lifestyles who don't really kind of have that feeling, and we're talking about like having partners before your marriage. You know what I mean? And if you have so many partners, sooner or later it doesn't mean as much to you, and you lose a meaning, and you can kind of never get that back. And I feel like it could get that way with hunting. I want to kill a lot of big deer, man, but do I want to kill every big deer every time I go? No,
man. Sure would take that drive to like make it all happen. Out of it. I mean,
I know it. And then you got shows where dudes like they can't even make it through the whole 22 minutes with only killing one deer. They got to show you slocking 2 or 3.
That's right. That's right, man.
I don't know. It's and I'm not saying there's anything wrong with those people. If that's what they want to go and do, that's fine. It's just, man, if you make it so much about what it's not actually about, you kind of lose a lot of meaning.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you 100%. I think, I guess with that being said, when you're consuming media, it could be Team Realtree or whatever it is that, has a bunch of guys killing lots of deer and there's 2 or 3 kills an episode or whatever. And I mean, if it's done well, it doesn't matter if it's Team Realtree or whoever, or if it's just Joe Bob from, Missouri on his dad's farm, But when you watch that stuff, you have to kind of manage your expectations.
Mm-hmm.
And kind of what I mean by that, well, it's probably pretty obvious, but like, I don't know. For instance, we had a guy that came and talked at church, and my wife, she said, all I want for Valentine's Day this year is for us to go do this thing. And it was like I think it was a 2-night thing that ended in a Valentine's dinner. And man, this sounds so corny for people who don't get into this lifestyle or whatever. But I wanted to make my wife happy. I like making people happy, and my wife especially. And so I went, and the same way, I was like, golly, I don't want to do this. And I showed up, and it was good, man. Kind of like what you did with that retreat recently, probably.
Yeah, it's
and so
very similar.
Yeah, and this guy talked about, he's like, man, like the root of pretty much all arguments are based off of expectations, your expectations of your wife or her expectations of you.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't expect them to clean the dishes, then you're not going to get mad that they didn't clean the dishes, you know? And so I mean, I don't know, the way he was on a different level. And that would be tough for me to do. But I mean, managing those expectations, knowing that when you go out in the woods, you're probably not going to shoot a 150,
Yeah.
And even though you can go type in 150, guy kills 150, inch deer or whatever on YouTube and find several videos that are, the work that goes into what that guy did to bring you that 10-minute video of his 150 kill, like that's a lot of work, and people don't know really what happened behind the scenes, or what even he might be sacrificing behind the scenes,
Yeah.
I mean, people are always, how many comments, if you've ever read through the comments on a Drewy or Lakoski video on YouTube, there will be a comment, at least one on every video, I think, that says, man, if I had that land, I could kill that deer too.
Yeah.
I'd kill deer like that too.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, golly, just face palm, like if these people had seen the 30 years or more of hard work and managing this property, that, all the things that go into it, from just growing crops to growing deer and not shooting 3-year-old 170-inch deer because they want to shoot a bigger one. And that's totally up to them, man. I think it's cool. I think it'd be awesome to have that opportunity, just as much as I think it'd be awesome for me to be able to shoot a big old 5-year-old 6-point next year on public land in Texas,
Yeah.
I mean, I just get off on it all, man. I love it. But people just don't know the hard work that went into shooting at 195, when Mark Drury kills one on television,
Sure.
I mean, literally 30 years. That's what's gone into it.
The guy had to build a outdoor empire to get to do that. Like, think about how tough that was. Yeah.
Yes, yeah. So I mean, that's something we have to manage. Is our expectations, therefore our jealousy and that kind of thing.
Yeah, and that's going to be tough for me this upcoming season with us going to the Midwest and hunting, man. Like, I joked about it with you recently, but man, you set the bar pretty high for those trips last year.
Sure.
And we laid it down on some sick, nasty footage on a giant buck, and you smoked him. And now, man, it's going to be tough to go shoot a respectable 3-year-old.
That's right.
Like, I know that, like, I can be big talk about going up there and, man, just being happy with the experience, but golly, whenever you know that there's giants walking around, it's going to be tough to. For sure. And it's that whole, like, ignorance is bliss kind of thing,
Yeah.
It's, I don't know. It's going to be something that I definitely have to manage and be cognizant of, and not just, I feel like that's a big thing, is instead of reacting, being proactive to stuff, If we're going on these trips and going to different places and hunting out of state or in state, if I'm real with myself and have some self-reflection, I can know what I want out of it, and it's not hard for me to be decisive about things,
Right.
But you still can be surprised every once in a while, like I was with that little baby body this past year. Like I drew on him twice, and there's nothing I'm more prepared for than to hunt that stand and hunt big deer because I know that they're there, you know, and I still, just because, I don't know, it's just the moment. But
yeah,
anyways.
dude, I wish I'd have shot instead of a 151 or whatever last year. I wish I'd have shot a 121, like 7-point with like broken brow tine, you know, that was just a big old heavy, you know, 6-year-old or something like that.
On. No, you don't. You don't wish
I mean,
that.
in all actuality, no, I don't. But
it would have
like,
been
man,
okay if that was the situation, right?
Yeah, and I've talked to you about this, like the 16-year-old dude that shoots a 230-inch deer as his first deer. It's like, where do you go? You know,
and that's
where do you go from there?
That's one of the biggest clickbait YouTube headlines titles there is nowadays. That like kid shoots a giant buck or something like that. People love to put that on the title. You know, it's like almost like, first of all, you're kind of putting this human at a lower standard because they're a kid, and then at the same time, you're rubbing it in our face that this younger person shot a giant. You know, like, where are we trying to get with this headline right here? But anyways.
I know, man. I don't know. I feel like I talked to you about this on the way back probably even, but like, man, it's going to be tough to like go up from where we were last year. You know, I mean,
I know
it doesn't, you know, on public land, it just doesn't get much larger. There are very few deer that are that much larger. And so, you know, going to be tough, but I don't know, man. I think, you know, I know personally, you know, I would be very happy with, I have a picture of what like a solid deer is in my mind. And, you know, it depends on age class and it does depend on antler size and stuff like that too. I mean, I don't know. I'm probably not going to shoot a 12-year-old buck that has like 2 nubs on his head.
Yeah.
That looks like a doe on camera. You know, I mean, I'm just trying to be honest. Probably not going to shoot that deer, but I might if the situation was there. You know, I mean, and so, I mean, there's just, you know, it's always so situational. We can talk about it until the cows come home, but, you know, until we're in that situation, we don't know, you know, just like you were saying, you know, when a like August born or whatever, you know, 2 to 3-year-old buck comes in, it's a tough call and you just have to make it at the time, you know?
Yeah. So, you know, the way that I found the location for us to hunt that deer last year that we were referring to earlier was with newfound map technology that we did not have back in the day. And that's one of the really cool things about this new age we live in, right, is how much good information there is out there, whether that is like tips and tactics or whether it's factual stuff like maps and rules and regulations and how easy it is to access that stuff. And just it's a simple sit in your tree stand and you're like, man, am I allowed to shoot 30 minutes after dark or at sunset? You can Google it, you know, right?
Right.
But with that, like instantaneous satisfaction comes something that I've noticed, and probably the past year more than ever, is that, man, there's just no secrets anymore. There's no, I mean, maybe there is. Maybe it's even deeper, but it just seems that there's no honey holes. There's no little niches here and there that hold big deer that nobody knows about, or there's nobody slaying giants in their backyard every year that you don't hear of. Like, it's almost like all the books are open, right? Like everything is there for you to know if you're willing to go find it.
Well, I would say all of it except for that boy that Brennan knows. He's got
That's right.
He's got one spot.
That's right, man. He found him a piece of public that he ain't ever been to, but it's going to be it. It's going to be the bee's knees.
He's got the last spot that's a secret in the world.
Yeah, I guess. But you know what I'm saying, though? Like, that's kind of, it's almost like, man, you know when you go to Lake Fork and you throw out a Carolina rig and you just got the whole, like, man, if only, you know?
Yeah.
But
I was just thinking about Lake Fork.
Yeah, and we kind of get to live in a bubble there on that lake. You know, it's tough in its own way, but there are giants. And
I've heard so many people say there are no secrets on Lake Fork. You know?
Yeah.
I mean, it's just, you know, there's somebody knows about it.
Oh,
you know,
yeah.
in the heyday, there was 350,000 people fishing it every year, you know?
Sure. I mean, there's right now, if I want to dig deep enough, I can go look up the old aerials of Lake Fork before the lake was there, and I can tell you where every pond was.
We've got a book of them. Yeah. I mean, yeah, and that's I mean, but you can look it up, man.
Yeah.
It's tough.
It's the same thing in the hunting world, you know, like where we live, we know our max potential for body size and antler size, right? Like there's no like waking up in the morning and being a little kid and just thinking you're going to go outside and shoot the next barbed wire buck, you know, like it's just probably not going to happen here in East Texas. And it's one of those deals where it's almost sad that it's that way. And I think that that's what's led me to be more and more of an experienced hunter. I think that's what I'm going to just start calling myself. Not a trophy hunter. I'm not a meat hunter. I'm an experienced hunter. It's a culmination of all the things, right? Yep. I want to go and do it the funnest way you can, you know. And it doesn't matter if I can't find like that like little bitty spot that has like these giant bucks that nobody knows about, or like, man, did you know this is public? Nobody else knows this is public. That's just not how it works now. I've got a app on my phone, Onyx Maps, that puts every public piece in the whole state with little green dots over it, you know, like, it's just, there's not really any secrets there. So you have to kind of, I guess, you can use that to your advantage, of course, and we do often, but you have to find a way to still get that mystique, you know, and still have that feeling.
Yeah, man, that's a tough thing these days, you know, and that's another thing is like, boy kills 230-inch deer or whatever thumbnail, you know, like you were talking about. I mean, like, well, does that make it the next 13-year-old kid that like thinks he could, you know, does it make it not so special to him, you know? I mean, I don't know, but we've talked about, you know, this is kind of like almost like the trail camera thing a little bit, you know?
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah, it is.
It's like, I don't know, when I first started hunting in the Midwest, it was like, I still can see the picture in my mind, but I just have this like picture that I've always had of sunset, you know, sun going down, golden hour, and I'm sitting in like, for some reason, I'm sitting in like an 8-foot wooden tree stand, you know? And like this just, you know, 190-inch, just pretty much straight up with a little bit of junk, heavy, 10-point is coming down the fence row right at me, and I'm about to shoot him with a bow. It's like one of those Bass Pro paintings, you know, that you see or whatever. You know,
Are you the old guy asleep on the bucket? Have you seen that one?
I'm a young guy, but yeah, I think I was asleep. But no, it's you know, it's kind of one of those things, and I don't know if it's just growing up or if it's a culmination of things like the internet and growing up and that kind of thing. But yeah, it is kind of hard to find the mystique in it. The more research you do and the more online time you spend and that kind of thing, you know, it is hard to find that mystique. And so that is something that as hunters, maybe we need to hunt, you know, for. So I don't know. It's tough, man. I mean, there's I guess managing those expectations again, you know, and knowing that it could happen, and I don't know. I mean, there's so many things that all just kind of like come together and you come full circle. But like, you know, it's a world of hate and negativity. Well, honestly, dude, I can be pretty negative sometimes, you know, just personally. And I think about it like, you know, I have trouble. So if I can get pretty jacked up going out on the right day, but if it doesn't feel right, or if I'm running a half hour behind. Like sometimes I just had this attitude that like it's not going to happen today. I don't even know why and then it's like, well, there's so many better things I could be doing. I could be, getting some work done, and I get this from my dad, and I've got to try to like suppress that attitude within me of like, I just got to try to enjoy. Like if I'm out hunting, I just need to enjoy it and not worry that I didn't get, X amount of emails sent or whatever, I mean, just need to try to kind of suppress that, I guess,
Yeah.
but.
Well, the morning that it didn't feel good this past season, do you know what happened?
Yeah, well, yeah, I do know what happened. We were being negative in the tree stand is what we were doing.
Yeah, we got up and it was sticky and kind of not near as cold as what we wanted. And
yeah, it like had warmed up to like 35 or something.
Yeah.
And we were like, oh, it's
man, there's not any deer here. We've only seen 15,
Like, yeah, we were like, man, it's been a slow morning. We can see for miles, and we've only seen 15 deer. And next thing you know, number 16 was about 18 inches wide, heavy, 10 points, and it was coming right at us.
Yeah, my goodness.
So
man.
yeah, it's true, man. That's I've got to try to get that into my mind a little bit,
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, the internet is also one thing that I don't like about it is the distraction that it provides throughout life. But, in terms of the Element Podcast hunting,
Yeah.
I don't know. It's I mean, how much time do you spend on your phone in the stand, and yeah, I mean, it's a nice little relief here and there, but you got to just make sure and try to manage that, I guess. But the thing that's hard is like, if you're in service, man, you may have social media buzzes coming up, or if you turn that off, you're still probably going to have texts, phone calls, emails, like the plague of being in touch. Mm-hmm. Still surrounds you,
Yeah.
And I don't know, I feel like that world has kind of developed us into people of like little patience and immediate satisfaction,
Yeah.
And
I mean, there's a reason the kids these days are like into the duck hunting more than anything else, right? Like you get to shoot a lot when there's birds. People,
that's right.
Like opening day of dove season in Texas is like a holiday, man. Everybody's going.
Oh yeah.
Right? It's because you get to shoot a lot. It's like instant gratification. Hopefully, if you're on a bad dove hunt, it's not. But it's just a whole different deal, and it takes patience to be able to sit in a tree stand for 37 days in a season. Before that big boy strolls into your food plot late in December. But it can still happen. But
that's right.
If you condition yourself to need that instant gratification, it's going to be real tough for you to climb up in the stand on day 37.
I think that's part of the reason that's another reason, the internet is bad. I think for hunting, it's like, why go sit in a tree stand and be cold and try to be mentally and physically tough for hours on end and days on end possibly.
Yeah.
When you can literally sit inside in the warmth and you can watch guys that were tough,
Yeah,
whatever.
Sure. Exactly. And it's funny, it kind of, this happened to us the other day, but we were talking to a guy who watches probably thousands of fishing films, right? And I requested that he critique us in our Rock Trolls film, and he of course was, very praising of the film, liked it a lot. But he said, my one critique would be to get to the fishing faster. And it's
so
like,
you don't catch a fish for 2 minutes.
Yeah, for 2 minutes. You're like, dude, what about building the story? And I get where he's coming from. Like, I understand. Like, if you're trying to market, like, people want to see fish getting caught and big takes, which that's all in there, right? But we also want to tell a story about like the danger of going down in the canyon and like how my legs stopped working and how like we're walking in, we just see blood on rocks. We're like, oh my gosh, what's happening? Like that's all vital, important parts of the story.
Oh yeah.
But
I'm not gonna do it any other way either, you know.
Yeah.
But it is, I don't know, frustrating maybe too passionate of a word, but a bit frustrating, you know, that, you know, you feel like you can't tell a story for 2 minutes to help set the scene before, and not just like a boring story either. I mean,
yeah, it's not like we showed like 45 seconds of a time lapse of the drive there, you know, like,
yeah, or like us just sitting there in front of a camera talking real, you know, stumbling around like we do on the podcast, you know. I mean,
yeah.
it's like pretty intense moments of us like climbing down and struggling through that trip, you know.
Yeah, but you know, all he was doing was orchestrating to us like what he sees, you know, in viewership. You know, he's not telling us what he thinks; he's telling us what sells the video, you know, to people. And nowadays, you know, you're going to want to see a bunch of splashy water, you know, real quick. You know, that's just kind of how it is. It's that instant gratification. You know, nobody's watching Honey Hole TV waiting on these boys to find the honey hole of crappie for 15 minutes and find them a good stand of crappie out there. You know, it's not how it is nowadays. But that's fine too. You know, and maybe that's just instead of complaining about it, or I don't think we're complaining right now. We're just kind of reflecting. But instead of reflecting on it, we just have to find better ways of making people forget that the action didn't start for 2 minutes. You know, when the action started 5 seconds in, it's so intriguing and interesting that you forget that you're actually there to watch a fish eat a bug, you know, or a deer get shot. Like, it's about like the story, man, and it's about nature. It's about being outside. It's about being in creation.
Yeah, I think the dialogue has started there, and I you're probably talking about us, you know, independently, the two of us or whatever, trying to just be creative. But I think the dialogue in the outdoor community has started in that facet of like what we appreciate, you know, what do we want to portray. And so I feel like hunting's in a great place right now, honestly. I feel like, the internet is tough on hunting. Social media, there's jealousy, there's, you know, all these different things. There's the inability to watch a story for 2 minutes that's pretty intense because, you know, they thought we were going to catch fish, but then we didn't catch one for 2 minutes and they never get to the like Slay Fest, you know?
Yeah.
And, but I think that some of these like influential brands right now are really talking about meat consumption, respect for the animal, how we take pictures, how we put it on social media. I've seen a lot of different brands that are addressing that right now. And I don't necessarily think that we need to talk about how to do it and this and that right now, because there's a lot of, like I said, there's a lot of good information out there coming out right now from these other brands. But I'm glad that it is being talked about, and I feel encouraged that what we're trying to put off as hunters and fishermen right now, we're trying to change. And you know me, dude, I love counterculture.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah. Skinny jeans right here.
That's right. And so like I love that we're trying to go against the grain and say, you know what? I can be Tyler Jones. I can be KC Smith and just be one or two guys that kill a couple of deer a year, and that it's memorable and it's exciting and it's what we live for, and that it's a story that's worth telling and a story that's worth listening to, you know, and I'm encouraged that people will dig into that stuff and enjoy that, and hopefully that from, you know, these other leaders that are sending off this message right now start to understand that in their own lives they can create a story that is not you know, a 90-minute Monster Bucks film of 26 kills. You know, it's and not that that's bad. There was a lot of time put into that, and those people probably really remember those hunts. But you can make your story about 110-inch 8-point that, is 5 years old that you've got 2 years, 3 years of history with. And if you shoot them or don't, it's an exciting pursuit, So I don't know. I just really am encouraged right now with what I think the industry is trying to turn to and trying to turn against. And I don't know. It feels good, man. It feels good to kind of be a part of that and to never have really lost, our roots or anything, but just to be able to flip something around a little bit,
Yeah. Yeah. And I guess to take it full circle, kind of back to the first question I asked you, right now and in the past, you and I kind of both agree the internet has been bad for hunting. But what's cool is that, like, we're on a fulcrum, and if enough of us keep pushing toward the other side, putting out good content, and here's the cool thing about the internet, it gives everyone a voice. We know we talked about how that's a bad thing earlier, but it's a good thing. Like, there are great videos, like on YouTube, for an example, of people you've never heard of, never seen, that show their true passion, who are super creative, great with the camera, great in editing. And man, I was talking to you about one the other day, is a mule deer hunt. I've never even hunted mule deer, but like I just love that video, man, because you can see like the fire in these hunters and their passion for the sport and why they truly care. And if enough of us keep pushing towards that, man, it's going to make a shift. Things are going to change, and that's the most encouraging part of this whole thing, is the fact that, yeah, the future might be a little bit bleak, but man, it's in our hands. Like, we can do something about it.
That's right, man. And that whole front, which is deeper than just a front, but that whole, what we're putting off, what is being shown to the public, that is something that a animal activist has the ability to see, and that they will see, and there are some of them seeing it every day. And if the message is correct, and I'm not saying that we get it right every time or that we know how to do it or anything, we're all trying to figure this out, right? I mean, we're trying to say, it's kind of a deep thing to reach inside yourself and say, why do I hunt? When you started out hunting and you didn't really know, you just, you started shooting at things, and it was just kind of this natural thing that you did. Starting to really pick apart why you hunt, and then trying to figure out how to display that, how to explain that to an audience. But if we do it right, we do it correctly, and I think that we are trying to do that overall as a community, at least the community that I pay attention to. I think that the people that are antis, they may not, many of them flip their perspective, but there are a lot of people out there that are just kind of ho-hum about it, and they love their dogs and animals and stuff like that, but they eat meat or whatever, so they can't get mad about it or anything. They just don't care too much to get involved in it all. These are the people that can be influenced and persuaded to be like, you know what, I saw a hunter once on YouTube that appreciated the life of that animal and what he did, and said that he hunted for 2 months straight before he killed a deer, and he put a lot of time and effort into that. And then he also, showed that he was cooking it after he got done, and I don't think that that's a bad thing, And so I feel like that is a big part of kind of why it's exciting, what's kind of changing right now,
Yep. Yeah, totally agree, man.
But I don't know. As far as there's a lot of things that are challenges out there. And for you and I, one thing that's been very challenging, and this is kind of you've got many things. You've got things like predators. You've got politics, and we could go off into a whole political thing. We probably will wait till we meet up with some more TRCP dudes to do that or whatever. But money is definitely a barrier to entry in the hunting world. We've talked about how you can step foot on the same lands out west and that you could hunt, big mule deer, elk on, and do trout fishing instead, and be about, probably several $1,000s less in the hole, and it's just it's kind of a thing that's just hunting's gotten increasingly more expensive, and I just kind of would like to, I guess, make a little bit of a disclaimer that you and I are spending money on Kansas tags, and I'm hoping to draw an Iowa tag this year, and then we're gonna have Texas and wherever else we decide to go possibly. And but you were talking about this earlier, I think, kind of offline, but it's okay to really just love hunting at home. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's a good thing, I think. It's a good thing to go experience things. It's a good thing to go places and see new things, but it's also a good thing to just stay at home and hunt around home and put everything you got into it and really feel passionate when you finally close the deal or whatever, and just to kind of be oblivious, that ignorance of that bliss that you get through ignorance.
Yeah.
It's a good thing, man. And so everybody's on different levels of financial freedom, I guess you would say. So just keep that in mind. And I mean, personally, I'll tell you this: if I draw Iowa this year and I've got the Kansas tag, I mean, that's pretty much like $1,000 of tags right there by themselves. That's expensive, man. Iowa doesn't happen every year, but I can still, like, how many times have I told you this off season how excited I am to try to pursue deer on public land in Texas this year?
Oh yeah, man.
And we don't have, like, the deer we're chasing are, most of them, there are probably only a few that we've even gotten pictures of in the last like 2.5 years or whatever it's been, 2 years, that would actually go Pope and Young.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
They're not big deer.
Oh yeah.
They may be old. They may be 4 or 5 years old, and be mature deer. But man, I can't tell you like how excited I am for that. And I think that as the end of this disclaimer kind of thing is just like, make sure that you just can have discretion and still find excitement before you kind of, don't think that like I'm going to Kansas because I'm not excited about Texas anymore.
Yeah.
I just make sure you kind of, you just put everything into perspective, I guess.
Yeah, sure.
So,
yeah, I agree, man. I think that's very important. And, just, I guess, kind of in closing for me, I just kind of want to leave you with 2 points. Pursue in hunting what makes you happy, because happiness is going to get you so much further in life than anything else, and to be honest, it doesn't matter in this world of hunting, we're talking in hunting. It doesn't matter if you're making anybody else happy or if like your deer seems cool to somebody else. Man, it matters if what you're doing makes you happy. If you want to go out and shoot a doe to eat and then really just sit in the stand and enjoy nature and enjoy the world waking up, then man, do that. If you are don't even care to pull the trigger anymore, and what makes you happy is carrying kids out to shoot spike bucks, go do that, man. I know a guy that does that. That's what he does now, and it's awesome that that's what he loves to do, and I'm so glad there's people like that. And once you find that thing that makes you happy and you pursue it, do your best to share your message, to share that story in the best way possible, so that it'll make other people understand and maybe even want to have a part of what you're doing. Because that's going to be what perpetuates this lifestyle, this heritage, this life that we care so much about, this outdoor lifestyle, is sharing that message with other people. So
for sure.
Yeah.
And man, I don't know, I don't mean to cut you off, but no. I think that this could have, I think this could have been a very negative podcast. I hope people didn't take it that way. There is a lot wrong with the internet, but there are a lot of good things too. And we kind of hit on a few of those points, but I just want to make sure that, I guess I just reiterate that I'm encouraged by the era that I think we're starting to step into in the hunting world. We've come kind of through this, like, and there will always be trolling and that kind of thing, but we've come through like the heart of the trolling era and the, big buck craze maybe kind of thing. And I think we're stepping into a little different light and taking things in a new direction. I'm excited for hunting, man. I'm excited for, personally, just the ability to, like you said, to hopefully just affect my kids at the very least and let them know, like, this is important to me and I love this, and it provides food for us that we like to eat, and I mean, as long as I cook it well, like, we all enjoy this, so, hopefully a bigger platform than that one day, but that's kind of my minimum goal there. And I think that I'm just excited to have that opportunity and excited that, hopefully we can start to take that bell curve and make another hump in it that goes up,
Yeah, exactly, man. And you know what else? I'm excited to get to hang out with you a lot this fall, man. We're going to have a good year.
That's right, man.
Yeah.
I cannot wait.
I'm stoked, man. I can't wait to be heading out to the middle of nowhere and just stopping at Dairy Queens all over the place and just pigging out.
Just eating Jurassic Blizzards.
Yeah, it's going to be good stuff, man. And you know what? There is some good stuff on the internet, man. It's not all bad. In fact, if you want to go watch something good, go watch our newest video. It's the first one in our urban series of fishing films. It's going to be from Minneapolis. We filmed it, I guess it was last August, right, while we were up there for the TRCP Media Summit. So go check that out on our YouTube page. And if you haven't subscribed to that, be sure and do that while you're there. And maybe even leave us a comment because you love us and the video is cool. I asked the question on social media, how many species did we catch in that film? And no one has got it right yet. So if you do know, or if you're good at counting, then go and watch the film because we need somebody who's good at counting. So
I hope I'm good at counting because I've got a number in my head.
Do you? All right. Well, share that with me offline and we'll make sure it's right. And if I want to see if you can name the species too, because there's one in there that's kind of tough. So to y'all who are listening, thank you so much for tuning in. It means a ton to have the support, to have the listenership, and it's really cool whenever you reach out and tell us that we're doing a good job or ask us a question or tell us that we're doofuses, but you laugh at us so you like us. I've had all three of those happen lately. So it's cool, man. It's cool to hear that we're making an impact, and I hope that it's just a little ripple that turns into a big wave. And I hope that you that are listening are willing to go out there and share your message in the best way that you know possible. So, Tyler, you got anything else, man?
Man, I think I'm tapped out on this thing. I need to go to bed, get my beauty sleep so I look good in the studio tomorrow.
That's good, man. That is good. I hear that you may or may not have procured a new filming device for the studio tomorrow. Is that correct?
I have. Yeah.
Oh, GoPro City.
It's expensive, but
that's cool, man. We'll look forward to using that some out in the woods as well. So, yeah, get your beauty sleep. I know you don't have to worry about your golden pipes tomorrow, but get your fingers all limbered up, do some good finger exercises, maybe with some rubber bands or something, and get back safe, man. We got a lot of hunting to do.
I know it. I'll do that, man.
Yep. All right. Again, thank you all so much for listening, and remember, this is your element.
Living it.
Hey guys, turkey season is in full swing right now, and if you are planning on getting after it, make sure to pick up some Meat Eater Phelps turkey calls to stuff into the old turkey vest or into your fanny pack right now. I carry a few different things. I like to use mouth calls, and I like to use pot calls. Mouth calls or diaphragms, I like them because it gives you hand-free calling, meaning when you're working a bird up close, you can have your gun on your knee, finger on the trigger, ready to roll, and still be making turkey sounds. I like pot calls because I just like pot calls. I enjoy calling with a pot call. Whatever direction you go, including a box call, which I don't personally use too much, but they're fun and great, and I started out with them. Yanni, on the other hand, one of my main turkey hunting buddies, he loves box calls. And what's funny is I'll now and then look to him and give him the look that means get out your box call and find us a turkey. So it's not that I don't like him. I just have Yanni use his. Then I don't have to carry it. Go to Phelps Game Calls. Get calls that are made in the USA and get calls that'll get them close. Find yours at phelpsgamecalls.com today.